Hello people, today I'm doing my top 10 worst films of 2021. Um, I saw quite a few movies this year, as I said in my favorite films of 2021. You guys can check that out on my channel now. And I saw quite a few movies this year, a total about 60 or 70. And I'll just put this out, get this out of the way. Of course, this is top 10 worst, but there are only a couple movies on here I would say are truly, like, really terrible. Because, there's a lot of movies that I avoided because of how bad I heard that they were. Like, what's it called? The Kissing Booth movie, or those crappy Netflix love stories. Stuff like that where people were, I just didn't check them out because I didn't want to put myself through that. There are a couple I did put myself through just to see how bad it was. But what I'm just saying, if you're thinking to yourself, wait, so you put this movie on here, but where's this? It's most likely I didn't see it. So yeah. Anyways, let's get in with our dishonorable mentions, and just two of them. I know I did have quite a few honorable mentions for my best list, but the only way it gets into this video if it gets below a 5. And I think I'm pretty generous with my scores. I don't give terrible scores, because I think it's pretty hard to make a movie that's like in a 4 or 5, in a 4 or 3, because that means you really have to not be trying if I would give a movie that score. So yeah. Anyways, let's get into our first dishonorable mention, and it pains me to put this on here, but I have to. The Matrix Resurrections. And what hurts so much about this is because the trailers were famously really good, and I really liked like the first 45 or so minutes of the movie. I really liked the first 45 minutes of the movie. And then the movie keeps going, and then it becomes a cliche blockbuster that I was just kind of tired of seeing, because the first 45 minutes was a lot more deeper than that to me. And then then we get into some twists I didn't care for, and it just underwhelmed me within the after the first act of the movie. So yeah. Next dishonorable mention is Spiral, another desperate attempt to kind of get the Saw series up and running again, but it didn't do it for me. It just felt like it felt unnecessary. I don't think there was any justification in the movie, and just another sequel I was just like, whatever about. Getting into number 10 is a movie that should have been great. It had all the ingredients to be great, and that is Cherry, directed by the Russo brothers, starring Tom Holland. It's based upon a book, and that's partially the problem about this movie. I haven't read the book, but this movie brings up a lot of themes. It tries to balance all these things going on, and you have, like, Tom Holland's mental state. I don't remember his character's name. You have his mental state, you have his use of drugs, the bank robberies, and then the military, PTSD. All these themes are just clashing with each other, and yes, it would be fine if we had those, but one was like more prominent than the other. But no, they just all three blended together, where to the point you don't really know what to get out of the movie. Yes, I think the Russo brothers did a great job with like how the movie was made. They tried to like stylize their movie, even though it might have been overly stylized at moments. They really tried to like put their footprint on this movie, and you can tell that they were really trying, and I really think they were trying too hard, if that makes sense. I don't want to sound like I'm trashing the Russos, but they put a lot of effort for this movie. I'm sad the way it turned out, because it should have been great, but sadly I think the script needed a lot of work. Coming in at number 9 is Snake Eyes. Oh wow, this movie was meh the first time I watched it. I gave it the second time I watched it, well, I didn't watch it the second time. The more I thought about it, I didn't mean to say I watched it twice, but the more I thought about it, the less I was just like, you know what, this movie's not as good as I thought it was. And I didn't even think it was good the first time. I thought it was fine, but then the more I thought about it, I was just like, that was really not at all good, because it's just cliche after cliche after cliche after cliche, and it's predictable. You could tell where it's going. You're not intrigued. Like, it was definitely, I was able to sit down and watch it, and so it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be, but I think not being as bad as I thought it was going to be made me a little too nice when I first watched it. But the more I thought about it, the worse it sat with me. Coming in at number 8 is an awards film earlier this year that a lot of people haven't talked about since, and that is the United States versus Billie Holiday. This movie did not do anything for me. If anything, it kind of creeped me out with the direction that this movie went. I think this movie is almost even disrespectful. I found it weird how many times you saw the lead actress that plays Billie Holiday, how many times you saw her nude. It did not feel right. It felt almost disrespectful by how much they displayed that to me. It bothered me in a lot of ways, the way that they handled it, because clearly when I was doing my research, it's kind of vague of her personal life, and the way that they make these assumptions, if anything, it felt disrespectful. Yes, Andra Day did give a good performance with the material that she was given. I'll give her that. And some of the themes and messages that they did try to convey with her character worked very well. But there's a lot of things that did not work either that I felt seemed a little disrespectful. I'm not saying that the whole movie is disrespectful. Like, I think there are some powerful messages in there in a package that just had me going, eh. So yeah, coming in at number 7 is another awards film early in the year, and that is The Little Things. It's a desperate attempt at making awards movie is the way I saw this. I was not enticed at all by this movie. You have a big cast too. You have Rami Malek, Denzel Washington, Jared Leto, and I feel like they're at least kind of trying, but at the end of the day, it felt like a movie that had a hard time holding my interest. I didn't even have any interest in this movie. I still can't believe Jared Leto got nominated for this performance, because it wasn't terrible. It just was like, really, like, the Academy loves them some Jared Leto. But yeah, I wish I liked this movie more. I don't even remember what the story is. I know that there was one shot in the most I remember about this movie is the way that it ended was a little unique. And I remember there's this one shot of Denzel Washington in an apartment that reminded me of a Saw movie. That's about it. Coming in at number 6 is a movie that I'm going to be completely honest with you. The first time I watched it, I did not like it at all. Then I watched it the second time, I was like, maybe I'll like it more, because this movie got good reviews, and so this is a hot take. Number 6 is Godzilla vs. Kong. I did not like this movie at all. I'm so sorry. It just felt, because I, of anyone, am most critical of blockbuster action films. I am most critical of those because it's the one I've watched the most of. I don't want to say like I know Jonathan knows all, because that's not true. I just feel like I'm most critical of those, and to see this movie get a pass and see other movies this year like Eternals not get a pass is something that just really confuses me, because Eternals had a little bit of a brain to it. This movie has almost no brain. It makes me question the very existence of storylines, because particularly you have the storyline of Millie Bobby Brown, and then you get to the end of it, and we spent a good portion of runtime with her. You don't even really care for her character that much, but once you get to her end point of the movie, her point was to have her friend spill a bunch of water, I think, onto a panel so they could make Mechagodzilla kind of dysfunction for a second. That's their point in the movie. Besides that, they did absolutely nothing, because they're Team Godzilla, and that was stupid to divide it up into teams in the marketing, I thought. You get a lot of human time, and they do keep it to a minimum, and they did find a really good ratio between monster and human. But the fact is that I could not attach, even though, like, for instance, Godzilla had a lot of human versus Godzilla. Humans were 80% of the movie, 20% was Godzilla. What worked about that is because I was attached to the humans, and then getting Godzilla felt like you achieved that. When we're going back and forth in this movie, it just felt jarring. I lost interest really quickly, and I really wanted to like this movie. I even like most of the Transformers movies. So this movie, I was not attached. I was not impressed with the action sequences at all, because I thought it was very predictable as well. I'm sorry to rant about this movie, and I know people like it, and I get it if you do. It's not for me. Coming in at number 5 is Chaos Walking. Oh my god, what a colossal disaster. What a colossal disaster. I'm sure there was some good intentions, But, this movie was massively reshot and so painfully obvious where things were reshot. It's a muddled story where it feels like it's pulling you around on a chain. It just feels so out of place in Hollywood to the point where I just don't know. It's a weird movie to me. Because you have a very interesting concept. It's just the execution wasn't done well. You have a good cast, and I thought the director is the same director as Day After Tomorrow. Not Day After Tomorrow. Live, Die, Repeat. And I love that movie. So this movie should have worked, but it didn't. Coming in at number 4 is like these top. Okay, we're getting into the top 4, which is like the top 4 on here are like the really bad ones this year. The ones that really like pains me. The 10 through 5 was fine to get through, like it really, but these are the ones that just had me rolling my eyes throughout the whole time. Number 4, The Forever Purge. This is the most painfully political movie I have ever seen in my life. It's more of a political discussion movie than it is a purge movie. We have discussion about Mexican immigration and these racist Texans who are our main characters, and you don't like them because they're racist. And it wasn't memorable. It wasn't scary. It was so politically heavy-handed. I did not care. I was not attached because these characters are preaching these politics to me. And there are a way to preach politics to you and make it work. Like, for prime example, Don't Look Up. I love that movie. It's in my top 10. But this one was eye-rollingly political because it's a purge movie first. Don't Look Up worked because it's a political comedy satire. The Forever Purge is a purge movie. I don't want to hear about politics. That's not what works. Coming in at number 3 is Thunder Force. Oh my god. This movie should have been funny. It should have been hilarious. It should have been like poking fun of comic book movies, Melissa McCarthy comedy. But no, it wasn't. Instead, it's legitimately tries to be a superhero triumphant movie. It falls into all the cliches you've ever seen in a comic book movie and just has Melissa McCarthy jokes in it. It's such a misfire because this movie could have been hilarious. Poking fun at what are the biggest movies right now, comic book movies, having someone like Melissa McCarthy almost being like we're in the golden age of comic book movies right now. I feel like that could have really worked because we have movies that do that now. But no, we have this movie where it falls into the cliches, makes a fool of itself, has comedy that does not work, and improvisation that wasn't very funny either. Coming in at number 2 is Home Sweet Home Alone. Why does this movie exist? I honestly don't understand. I went on a little rant on my channel about this, and it's probably my most viewed review of the year because I just went off on this movie. Because what is the Home Alone movie where they try and make you sympathize with the villains and make the child seem like a psychopath? Who thought that was a good idea? Let's make our villains sympathetic so once they're tortured at the end, you can be like, oh no. Because at the end of the movie, you're like, you feel bad because these people are almost like basically broke human beings that just need a doll back that the child stole from them. And then they try to get the doll back and the kid's almost torturing them to death. And you're supposed to be like, yeah, this is a funny kid right here. No, it does not work. It does not understand what worked about the first movie. It's a misguided remake / sequel. Everything you don't like about movies is in this movie. Number 1, I'll say this is not technically the worst movie of the year. Technically, this is maybe like the most basic, mediocre movie ever. But that's why I dislike it so much, because it is the most basic action film I have ever seen. That literally falls into every cliche, everything I don't like in action films. Even though the movie wasn't completely awful, I just had an awful time sitting through it because it was falling into every trope I disliked. And that is Infinite, starring Mark Wahlberg. This movie has a cool concept, and it could work, but no, it just falls into all those action blockbuster tropes that you just don't want, what you're sick of. I'm tired of the scenes where you learn about the new team because you're with the new character, and you learn the rules of these, of this concept that you're learning about. And, the movies can do that now and make it work. We've seen it this year where but like in Dune, we get great world building, but this is the most cliche world building with the most cliche hero, with the most cliche action, with the most cliche story, and most of all, it's predictable. Nothing's impressive about it, and it's like they could have at least done something with it. I felt like there was no attempt, there was no try to make this movie great. It was just, okay, we're making an action movie starring Mark Wahlberg. That's it. And they put it right to Paramount Plus, and I understand why. I know Mark Wahlberg was upset about that, but, you know, I would have been, this movie just did not impress me, and it was the most painful watch of the year. So yeah, anyways, comment down below, what's your least favorite film of 2021? And yeah, it's funny, when you love movies, it's so hard to, you know, you talk about them so much, it's so hard to say something new about it. But once you hate a movie, I don't hate all these movies, but once you dislike a movie, it's really easy just to roll off what you didn't like about them. So yeah, anyways, like I said, comment down below what you guys thought is your least favorite film of the year. I'm very, very curious to see what people have to say. So yeah, anyways, like, share, subscribe, and stuff like that, and adios.